Alright guys, welcome to Anime Casuals. My name is Lucky.
Johnny.
And Michael.
And we all make up Anime Casuals. And I'm looking at the wrong camera. So,
Anime Casuals.
I know, Anime Casuals. So today we're going to be talking about our favorite anime fighting styles, martial arts, whatever you want to call them. We're probably going to stretch the definitions of both of those terms today.
Punch kicks.
So yeah, why don't we go straight into it with we're starting off with Johnny today.
Anime Johnny.
There we go.
Okay, so my fighting style, I mean, as always, kind of, spoilers. I'm going to not try and spoil really anything except for his moment in the anime, but I chose someone from Baki, Part 2, because they don't do seasons on Netflix. And I chose I think his name is Gaia. He does what is it? The iron. Every time I try to explain it to you,
environmental
fighting. Or
yeah,
something?
Environmental martial arts or something like that. I can't remember.
So environmental martial arts, or however, it's just basically it's using everything else around you to fight with. So I think I'm mostly just excited to see what he does in Part 3, I guess, because he just handful of sand, boop, and he's got teeth in his arm. It's crazy, and he just wrecks the dude. I mean. It was too good, and I'm excited to see what else he does. It seems it's a really interesting fighting style because you walk into a room, you got to figure out how you're gonna fight someone. Like at all times, you got to know. Like Jinbei, that's a weapon, not a weapon.
Too delicate to be a weapon.
Nice.
Glasses.
Weapon. So that's what I went with Gaia because he seems pretty cool, and I'm excited to see what he does in Part 3.
Also turning invisible in sand.
Oh
Interesting.
I mean, how do you do that? Chameleon Man.
I know, right?
Throwing sand hard enough for teeth to stick in your arms, like you said. That was a little insane.
And the fact that he actually knew all that stuff was in the sand before.
Oh yeah, before he got deductive reasoning.
Right?
He's just like, well, it's a fighting pit. There's probably a bunch of broken teeth in there.
I was a dentist a while ago. No.
He's like, I only use the bicuspids.
Canines.
Okay.
All right, Michael,
so I went with a similar vein is the Anything Goes martial arts from Ranma 1/2. I don't have to talk about that show. That show's been around for like 20 years. So if you haven't watched it, you should get right on that. Binge the crap out of all 120 episodes.
I'll be back, guys.
I'll be right back. We'll both be right back.
Pause the video. 3 weeks later. Okay.
All right, we're back.
So
really good.
In the same style, Anything Goes martial arts, and I'm actually going to get to 2 alt moves that were created by the people who invented it. It was originally invented by this old small guy whose name is Happosai, who is the sensei, instructor, master of 2 guys called Ranma Saotome and something Tendo. I haven't watched it in a long time. So, don't judge me.
Judge.
Oh, you judge. And each one of them kind of developed their own version of it. The Tendo side and the Saotome side. But it's all formed off the Anything Goes martial arts style, which is literally anything goes. That doesn't mean that, like you said, where the environmental guy's like, I'm going to use that guitar. I'm going to use that plate. I'm going to beat anybody up with anything I can find. Anything goes is learn any martial arts style. Take what works. Discard anything that doesn't. So the basis of the foundation is that once you learn enough different styles and different moves, then you will be able to adapt against any fighter. Which is really interesting. Although, because this is half comedy, half action, it doesn't really go into that much.
Yeah. Because
he's just constantly learning different things the whole time. And that's what really makes it kind of interesting. Especially for somebody who's a little bit more in fighting. Like he hasn't watched it.
Especially since it's... Well, I watched a couple episodes. We would rent like a video from the library when that was the thing.
Oh yeah,
and my friend had like a VHS that had like 2 episodes on it. And I think I watched like one with ice skating or something like that.
Yeah, and that's what I was gonna say. Is that Ranma goes through like almost every single sport and different kinds of fighters: strong, weak, fast. All different kinds of crazy ones. And he goes, "Well, I'm gonna be ice skating this time. What's the best martial arts I could use in this?" And they have ice skating martial arts. They have cheerleading martial arts. There's literally a martial arts for anything you can think of. And constantly he's going into there. They do something that's advantageous in their own sport or whatever they're doing, and then he goes, oh, "Okay, I figured that out."
Yeah.
Like one he learns was a spiral dragon punch, which is you have to feel cold and think of negative emotions, while the other person you try to flare up with, getting them angry, and you just slowly pull them into a tight spiral. And then at the middle, you do a corkscrew, and then by the laws of tornadoes. The cold air falls and the hot air rises, which causes a swirling tornado and causes someone to launch out.
Yeah,
but
anime tornadoes. There
yeah, exactly. The ultimate versions of the Anything Goes martial arts developed by Ranma's dad, Ken Masatomi, are called the Yama Senken and the Umi Senken. These were both... It was hilarious first reading about it because they were both like intense martial arts. Yeah. One's about strength and one's about silence.
Yeah.
And they're both invented because Ranma's dad didn't have enough money one time while he was while he was carrying Ranma, because it was just him and Ranma, so son dad combo.
Yeah.
Or sorry, dad son daughter combo.
Okay. Oh, that's right.
Because their mom was out of the picture for a little bit, and both of them are styles of burgling of someone's house.
Oh, there you go.
The Yamasenken is the strength attribute, which is, as a burglar would do, break down the front doors, and it's based on a house. It's talking about the foundations of a house. So first you break in the front door, and then the final aspect is to break the foundations and destroying the house completely. And that's what the ultimate, hardcore aggressive thief would do.
Yeah.
Then the opposite is the Umasenken, which is basically being quiet, absence of feeling, and like that anime thing where it's like, oh, he's got nothing in him, so I can't sense him.
He's a racist president.
He's a racist president. So like both of these are awesome because the Yamasenken comes up with their ultimate move, which is cutting so violently through the air that it creates vacuum. And it creates like vacuum slashes in like every other anime you see. And then the Umasenken, which is making a vacuum and then using a cloth, kind of like to do the Naruto suck up thing. Yeah. And then sucking up an entire area because of making a large vacuum that way. Okay. So like these two end martial arts come out almost at the very end of Ranma. Before the marriage and all spoilerific stuff, if you haven't watched it, that are like the ultimate versions of Anything Goes, because the entire martial arts style was only invented by a thief, because Hapasai was an original panty thief. Yeah. And so it kind of evolved into the ultimate versions that are, if you want to destroy a house, basically. Right. So that's why I really like the Ranma fighting style, because it's not just one, it's just go, hey, just learn everything and feel what works for you, and discard what doesn't. So, Anything Goes style martial arts. Really cool. There you go. Anime Lucky, what's yours?
So, mine is going to be, so I have one, and then I have like an honorable mention one right afterwards. The first one that I came up with, I told these guys it was going to be Fishman Karate. I just couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. I had to go, I had to go with Jinbei, another honorable mention. I had to go with Kenichi, the Mightiest Disciple. I had to go with his form of mixed martial arts, which is pretty much like what Michael was talking about with the Anything Goes martial arts. The thing I like about Kenichi is he starts off like super, like he's a nerd. He's not a nerd, but he's basically this weakling that just keeps getting bullied, and he stumbles upon this dojo with this girl, and they go in, and it has literally a sensei for every single martial arts. There's Japanese Jiu-Jitsu, which is a lot like Judo, and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu combined. So it's a lot of stand-up, clinch throws, all that kind of stuff. They have Muay Thai, Kenpo karate expert, some type of Chinese martial. I think he's literally just like every single Chinese martial arts like expert. And then they have a weapons expert. Like she's like a shinobi ninja, but she can use it pretty much any weapon. And they have a grandmaster that's just like can beat every single one of them. and it's really like cool to see like each of the masters are like have their own quirks and everything. But each one of them kind of teaches them. And as he's going throughout the anime, like one of my favorite fights that he did was in the very beginning ish. He ends up taking on. There's this big judo guy, and there's this kind of small boxer guy. He's taller than Kenichi, and the boxer wants to fight him, and then the judo guy kind of steps in, and he thinks he can just take Kenichi, but Kenichi ends up crawling. Because he's holding him like this, and Kenichi ends up crawling to his back in a rear naked choke. Oh, jeez. and he's like, "What the heck are you doing? How'd you get back there?" and he basically like gets him out of there. And then when he's fighting the boxer guy, because he knew he had to fight him, this guy named Apachai, who is a Muay Thai expert from Thailand. He's like you have to use the boxer's most inner weakness, or their worst weakness, which is leg kicks, because. And to fighters, it's just like it's so cool to see actual like martial arts knowledge put in there, because boxers have a really wide stance. So if you kick their base, they can't really use their footwork anymore. So it's cool to see those things. But also, there's also some ridiculous aspects of it in terms of in terms of him. He doesn't use weapons, but he uses the woman's weapon techniques to make his arms weapons and legs weapons.
Hey.
So he uses the idea of like using a scythe to use it with his arms, that kind of thing. To basically make his body a weapon. But yeah, I thought that was really cool. And then my honorable mention is actually to my boy Guts right here. He doesn't really use a specific martial arts or anything, but his idea of fighting, which is basically let them have a little bit for me to kill them, is a crazy kind of philosophy that I see with like kind of like with like a Deontay Wilder nowadays. If you guys watch boxing, he's like this guy that's just been knocking people out like Mike Tyson. But a lot of times he'll be losing a fight and then he'll just punch somebody once and they'll be knocked out. And it's all because he knows he can put them away with one shot, but he has to wait for it. Then Guts is willing to like he's done everything from like getting part of his face like. His whole helmet cut off and his face cut up. He once got he was fighting this gigantic moth thing, and spoilers for Godzilla. No, I'm just kidding. No. He's fighting this gigantic moth thing. He's fighting this gigantic moth thing, and he couldn't get to it, so he was like, all right, what am I gonna do here? So he literally just lets it impale his mouth. He bites down on it, and he lets it bring him up so he can get at it. And he's just willing to do anything to get to an enemy's weak point, even if it means giving up something. I really like that idea of fighting, because especially when you're fighting people that you normally don't have any chance of. Like he's fighting demons, and he's still a regular guy, just with a gigantic sword that weighs over 500 pounds. I mean, normal stuff. So yeah, that's like my honorable mention and my anime martial arts. Do you guys have any honorable mentions or anything like that?
I was gonna say, just a quick addition. One of the things I really liked about this thing in Ranma is one of the first ways you're introduced into the strong version.
Yeah,
is that this guy, he's about to fight Ranma and he's like, okay, let's do it, and he just screams really loud, just says stop, and he just freezes somebody, because a style of fighting is to break someone's concentration with something loud enough. And I was like, that's really cool. That's like the clap in front of someone's face. It's like they close their eyes because they're like, oh, it's a clap.
Yeah, right.
And I was like, oh, that's really cool. Mine was the Rurouni's Kenshin's sword fight.
Yeah,
sword fight
he
style.
did Mitsurugi or something.
Yeah, so that one's super cool. And the one from Cowboy Bebop. Spike's fighting style. I totally forgot what it was called. But it's just the act of fluid motion.
Yeah.
And just never making a wasted fight and just being loose.
Yeah.
And if I'm gonna say, I mean, he lightly drinks through it and doesn't really do anything else. He's just like a loosey goosey guy, because he's the way his music kind of goes through his body.
Yeah.
And the way he acts is just like someone tries to punch him and he just goes.
Yeah.
It's so easy for him. I'm like, that was so cool watching all that. There's guns, but he's also like, yeah, I could fight you as well. I'm so good at it. And I'm really a big fan of the loosey goosey fights.
Yeah, there's a character in one of the villains in Kenichi, or one of the people of Ragnarok. His name's Siegfried, and every single time, people are like, why the heck? They call him a zombie because he never goes down. But what he's actually doing is he lets you punch him, so he moves around, and then he'll use your momentum against you and smack you.
That's so cool.
And finally Kenichi figured that shit out, and had to do some special anime shit. But what do you think, Johnny?
I think my honorable mention is gonna be one I mentioned to you guys earlier. Kenpachi Zaraki.
Yeah.
Going from his constant single sword, or not single sword, one-handed style to just two hands, and he's insane, and he just wrecks everybody after that. It's great.
It's like that Skyrim thing with one-handed. It's like one-handed. My one-handed is about 50, but I'm doing pretty good. Two-handed, 300. What?
As a final honorable mention, I'm sure we could all agree, like he said, Fishman karate.
Yeah, that literally is one of the coolest things that I like. Because, the greatest thing about fishmen is that they can swim, but they can also kick ass. So it makes them so much better than a lot of devil fruit users. Because any devil fruit user you see that's super strong, you still know they can't handle themselves underwater. So that's something fishmen will always have. But anyway, guys, go ahead and check out our next video. We'll figure out what that's going to be whenever we do. But yeah, it's nice to be back, and we won't be taking too many huge breaks like this for a long time. And yeah, don't forget, guys, keep it casual.